Before joining CUNA in 2014, Jim Nussle had served 8 terms in Congress before serving as a cabinet member in the George W. Bush administration. Nussle quickly put his skills and experience to work, culminating in extraordinarily effective leadership for credit unions, including standing at the forefront of the fight to protect credit unions' not-for-profit status. Nussle has rallied credit unions and their members in an effort to force Congress to implement stronger data security standards for retailers, so credit unions aren't left holding the bag after a data breach. And when credit unions across the country said they wanted choice with how they affiliate, Nussle listened and worked with the CUNA board to change the organization's bylaws to allow for membership choice. Nussle is a colleague and a leader, but moreover, he's a partner, and he exemplifies the strength and unity between CUNA and the Michigan Credit Union League. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jim Nussle.
Wow. Dave, thank you. What a nice video. John, you were mentioning you get walk-up music. I got a walk-up video, buddy. I don't know. Maybe you got to serve a full year before you get a walk-up video. I got to tell you, I'm blown away. Dave, what a fantastic presentation that you provided us this morning, and what a tremendous partner you are, your entire team. I don't know about you, but I'm seriously blown away by what I just heard. I really am. Really fantastic. So I get to travel the country on behalf of credit unions, and this is my 18th month on the job. I'm spending most of it listening. I'm doing as much as I can to learn because, of course, while I'm a 25-year proud member of a credit union, this is the first time. I don't know how to run a credit union. I've never served on a board, never been a volunteer, never worked inside a credit union. I don't have the relation to what you do every day the same way you do. But I've been on the other side of the desk, right? I've been on the other side of the table. I've needed help. Not unfortunately or fortunately for me, like some of the folks we saw on the video, but you serve them every day. And once in a while when I travel around, and it happened yesterday actually when I arrived, and it happened again today, someone invariably will come up to me and say, why did you come to CUNA? First of all, I always remind people, CUNA is not NCUA, it's CUNA. Once in a while, someone will come up to me and they'll say, you know that rule you passed? No, that's NCUA. Or they'll say to me, you know, you hold my bond. No, that's CUNA Mutual. I'm CUNA, the Credit Union National Association, and they'll say, why did you join? Why did you do this? Why did you take this job? And I have to say, you just heard it. You just heard it. You are, without a question, we get to claim something that really nobody else gets to claim at a time when it's probably the most important to be able to claim it. And that is for the people who are out there, the vast numbers that you heard from Dave this morning, who are out there just hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck, students and seniors and veterans and people that are just trying to make it. I mean, you are their best hope, their best financial partner, because you're not here to make money off of them. You're here to help them. And so when someone says to me, why did you get involved in this? I just point to that. I say my whole goal, I mean, you can sum it up very easily. I want to help you be the best financial partner. That's what I look at as my mission. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that today and give you a little bit of a perspective on kind of what I'm focused on. Because our mission, as Dave said, we're here to support and protect and promote credit unions in order to be the best financial partner for Americans across the country. And we want you to be able to grow and continue to be able to do that for years to come. Find those solutions so that you can be that best financial partner. And so for me, my wife tells me, by the way, Karen will often say, you need to focus. Your focus needs focus. Anyone have a spouse like that will tell them that? I have a spouse like that. She will say, Jim, you just get too interested in so many different things. You've got to focus. Well, I'm focused. My board and I have worked through these last 18 months what we need to focus on for CUNA to be successful in the future in being your best partner. You heard so many of them today, but I just want to introduce them maybe in a little bit different way, because to me, I really want to be accountable to you in order to get these done, as Dave does as well. And let me touch on them real quick. The first one is really job one. And I talk to people all the time and I say to them, what do you want me to focus on? And they invariably will say, it's all about advocacy. Advocacy is really what we need at this time. We do the job across the table with our members just fine, but we need someone who can help lead the advocacy efforts in Washington and across the states, at the state capitals. We need people who can help us do things that we can't. It's kind of like it's part of almost your enterprise risk, right? As the regulatory burden and the compliance burden, you've got to have some people as part of that value proposition for you who can do something you can't, and that's aggregate the voice like really no other. We represent 6,000 credit unions across the country. When we go into an office in Washington, D.C., or a regulator, they know who we're speaking for, and they know who we communicate with. And that's why the most important thing I think I can do is to help lead an interdependent, fierce, 360-degree advocacy to remove barriers. And each one of those words to me is important. First is interdependent. Dave has mentioned it all morning. I'm just going to put another finer point on it, and I'm going to mention it in maybe a little bit different way coming up. And that is, I can't, somebody said, well, you used to be a congressman, you can probably call Paul Ryan and all of those things. Yeah, I can call Paul Ryan, but I'll guarantee you what Paul's going to say if he took my phone call. You know what he'd say? What do Wisconsin credit unions think about this issue? He's not going to just trust me, although we've been friends for 20 years. He actually worked for me, believe it or not. He's going to say, what do Wisconsin credit unions think about that issue? The same is true for your Michigan representatives. We need you to be that voice that undergirds everything we do in an interdependent way. We can't do it without Michigan and the Michigan Credit Union League, and they can't do it without you. So we are in this together. The second word in there is fierce. And I'll just be straight with you. I don't think credit unions have been fierce enough in the last 20 years. We've been nice, we've had our voice heard, don't get me wrong, we've had a lot of people visit a lot of offices, but we need to be stronger, we need to be more fierce. In fact, I would even venture to say they need to be a little bit scared of us, all right? And I think we are starting to see some of that success already. And lastly, it's all about removing barriers in a 360-degree way. It used to be, from a strategic standpoint, that you'd have like a legislative agenda and a regulatory agenda. Now it's multidimensional. It's the reason why we took Home Depot to court with you in order to sue them because of that data breach. It's the reason we took on the Department of Labor on the fiduciary rule. It's the reason we went after FASB on the CECL rule. We're covering the gambit, not just at NCUA, not just at CFPB, not just in Congress, but wherever regulations and laws affect what you do in your ability to serve your members. So that's why leading interdependent, fierce, 360-degree advocacy is so important. Job number one. The second thing I would just point up is that I really believe this interdependent value proposition is important. There are some trade associations that will tell you across many different industries that if you send me your dues check, I'll take care of everything for you. I'll hire a few lobbyists and we'll go talk to those congressmen and you don't have to worry about a thing. I will just tell you that doesn't work anymore. It's not working in that dysfunctional place called Congress or Washington, D.C., I guarantee you. The only thing that moves Congress these days is votes. It's the one thing that will move just about any politician, I guarantee, because I'm a recovering one. So I can, but I'm not recovered enough to know that you got to listen to the people that sent you there. And so that's why this interdependency is so important. You can't buy it. You cannot buy it. You have got to earn it, and the only way to earn it is using the people, utilizing the folks that deliver that message for you. Third, establishing the relevance in the future. Dave talked about this so eloquently. I'm concerned. This is what keeps me up at night. These next issues are really what I worry about if, as a new guy coming in, looking at what you do and saying, not only am I going to be around in a number of years, but are you? And what's it going to look like? Because there's so much disruption out there right now. We see it not just in financial services, you see it in everything. It used to be if you went to Washington, D.C. and got off the airplane, you'd jump in a taxi to go wherever you wanted to go. There are 12,000 taxis in Washington, D.C. There were 5 years ago, there are today. But 5 years ago, you couldn't jump in an Uber. Now, today in Washington, there are 18,000 Ubers to join those 12,000 taxis. Talk about disruption. Talk about disruption. How did you shop for Christmas this year, right? How did you shop for Christmas? Well, I don't know about you, but I love Amazon Prime. I don't know if any of the rest of you have it. And yeah, there's a few, I'll tell you what, that's pretty cool. But it's had an effect. It's had an effect on Walmart. In fact, Walmart was going to open 130 new stores in 2016. They're not any longer, and they're deciding to close 130 more. That's not because of, some kind of miscalculation at the financials. That's because of disruption in the marketplace for Walmart. So the disruption is there. The question is, and Dave mentioned it so well, what are we? And what are we going to be in the future? And this is what I look at when I look at this issue. I ask the question, do we want to be more like the Uber or more like the taxi? Do we want to be more like the Amazon or more like the Walmart? And I think you're seeing some great solutions today from Dave and from others across the country, and hopefully we can continue to provide this innovation for you so that you can be more like the disruptor. In fact, we were the original disruptor, right? In 1934, I know none of you remember that. I hope not, at least. If you do, I hope you remember it well, but we were the original disruptor in the marketplace at a time when banks needed disruption. They need it again, and I want to mention that again today as well. This promoting the credit union difference, I'll tell you, it's very charming. It's very charming when you talk to people and they say, what we do doesn't need a lot of advertising. We do it because it's the right thing to do. We do it because it makes a difference in the lives of our members. And amen. I mean, that's what keeps me juiced and motivated and running around the country and doing what I do in advocacy. I love it. And I know you love it too. But I got to tell you, it isn't charming to not tell people about the credit union difference. It makes a difference to talk about the credit union difference. And not, as Dave said, not just for the fact that we're attracting new members to the credit union movement every day. In fact, since January, it was just announced yesterday, 1.7 million new members came into the credit union movement across the country. It's not just about the new member. It's about inspiring that current member who's already walking through your door to have a tighter relationship with your credit union, stronger PFI, share of wallet, etc. So promoting that credit union difference does make a difference. And then the last thing that I focus on, and in fact, for me, and Pete Zerz is here, he's on our CUNA board, and he was on the selection committee. I've asked my board to measure my performance on whether or not we're growing. Not CUNA, not the association, you. Whether or not you're growing and you're succeeding, whether we're growing market share, whether we're growing members, whether we're growing assets, whether we're growing PFI. I don't think we can any longer just say, well, we hope we're going to pass this bill, or we hope we're going to maybe beat this regulation, or we hope we're going to, maybe accomplish an agenda, as you just did here by passing this reform that the governor signed yesterday. I think we've got to measure it in a bigger term, a more audacious, larger way of looking at this. And it's about our future. It's about our relevance. It's about us growing and being successful in the future for all credit unions. And so that's why, for me, growing is winning, and we need to increase that market share. Let me briefly touch on each one of these quickly. First of all, on 360-degree advocacy. Just this week, we held elections across a number of states, and except in one instance, all the credit union candidates were successful, thanks to your help and the help of many across the country who contribute to our PACs and get involved in elections. And I would just challenge you. Part of being involved in advocacy is certainly the work that you do at the state capitol. It's coming to Hike the Hill in Washington. It's the GAC. It's writing letters. It's comment letters and all of those things. But I know one of the kind of, I don't know, distasteful things that is part of advocacy sometimes is the election. And I'll just tell you, from my standpoint, one of the best ways that you can be involved is inviting the candidates to come and see what you do at the credit union. Invite them to take a tour. Invite them to meet your team, your staff. Invite them to meet some of your credit union folks, the members of your credit union. Let them know about these stories. They don't know them. Don't assume that they know them. And don't assume, even if they were there maybe last year or the year before, that they can't hear that story again. It's one of the best ways to connect with them between now and the end of the year in this election process. If you can contribute, obviously that's another way too. But it's part of whether we have a court strategy, a legislative strategy, a regulatory strategy, and a public relations strategy. You've got to also have that political strategy. This is the time to do it, and we can make a huge difference in our advocacy efforts by winning on the political front. Next is, let me just give you some numbers, because to me, and I think we've been missing the boat on our advocacy strategy. And the numbers, I think, speak for themselves. Certainly having 6,200 credit union leaders, whether you're CEO or a manager, that's important. But I also look at the 58,000 board members who we need to energize and get involved in our advocacy efforts even more than they've been asked to in the past. Our 273,000 credit union employees who are on the front lines of these stories. They're the people who are delivering this difference. They can tell that story to legislators and policymakers. And then the big one, 105, and as a result of yesterday, now 106 million memberships across the country. Why does that number matter? Because that's the number that the politicians listen to. What are the two most, I love doing this because almost always you get it right. What are the two most effective lobby groups in Washington? Take a guess. NRA, yeah, there's one. And what's another one? AARP, right? Those are, so here you go. I'll just tell you right now, I do this everywhere, I confess. Can you see? Oh, no, it's not on there. I'm an AARP member. Actually, I'm not. There are 60 million people that carry, I'm starting to get a discount, by the way, so I do carry this just once in a while to show it off. But when AARP goes to Washington to a congressional office, they say they talk to 60 million people just like me, all right? And when they talk in Washington, the Capitol Dome can shake. It really shakes when the NRA comes to town. But do you know how many people they have? Take a guess. How many? Millions. How many? Just take a guess. 20 million. You know, if NRA had 20 million, I think they'd run everything. You know, they only have 3.5 million. Only? That's a lot. But look at that number down there, 105 million that we could get engaged in this effort and be card-carrying members as credit unions that love their credit union, as Dave said, and so many of you experience on a daily basis. So we have a program called the MAP program, the Member Activation Program, that engages your credit union members in the policy process through you, not through me, not through Dave. They don't necessarily know or trust us, and if they knew us better, maybe they wouldn't either. But they know and trust you. And by communicating with them, you not only create the affinity with your credit union, but also on these issues, you also can move the needle on advocacy. Some highlights, and Dave mentioned many of these. We got 75% of the Congress to go after the CFPB with us and telling them you ought to exempt small institutions and credit unions. You ought to exempt them. We had 329 members of Congress as a result of the efforts from all of you and the leagues across the country to get them. It's the largest outpouring of support for credit unions ever as a result of your efforts. The efforts we've had in our political fundraising, $6.5 million, we're going to be able to help support credit union advocates in Congress and in our legislatures as a result of that. We put together some data in order to help our advocacy on regulatory burden. We quantified it, discovered that $7.2 billion a year is spent since Dodd-Frank on regulatory burden. That's money that can't go to serving members. Our legislators, our policymakers need to know that, and we're bringing that message to them. The field of membership and the member business lending rule changes at NCUA. Once in a while, the NCUA members will come out and they'll say, this is the year of regulatory relief. Debbie Matz had said that. With all due respect, there's only one reason why this was the year of regulatory relief, and it's because of your advocacy and the leadership from CUNA and the leagues that said this is going to be the year of regulatory relief in both member business lending and in field of membership. We also, as I said, worked with Cecil and got 1,000 credit union letters, individual letters, helping to change to provide more flexibility to FASB. We also did the implementation for rural and underserved areas for the CFPB in TRID, and we had 5,000 credit union advocates come to hike the hill, and our strategy on exams to try and increase the exams and modernize the exam cycle is something that is just being kicked off now with the NCUA, and I think it's going to bear fruit and hopefully as a result reduce some of those burdens. I mentioned the regulatory burden study of $7.2 billion. Your league and we can provide that information to you when you talk to policymakers, and I think that's an important thing for you to have in your hip pocket. Our challenges this year, as Dave said, and I'll just reiterate, we're all about regulatory burden, we're all about cybersecurity and maintaining our tax status and ensuring not only in Washington, but state by state by state, which is how the bankers are attacking us right now on the tax status, is maintained and leveraging the 2016 election. This is the chart that I was kind of rushing to get to because I'm running out of time and I don't want to miss it. But this is the one that keeps me up at night. So the gray area at the top represent the 100 largest banking institutions in the country. 100 of them. As you can see, back in 1992, about the time I joined Congress, they represented about 50% of the market. The small banks, that's that kind of blue or teal colored area, those are the small community banks. They used to represent also about half, now down to just a little bit over 17%. They're crying foul, those small bankers, because of us right now. But look who's eating their lunch. Look at where the pressure is coming from. It's not from us. In fact, that black line at the bottom, that's not a border. Yeah, that's not a border. That's us. And this is what frustrates me as a new person coming in and asking my board to challenge me the way I'm challenging you. I want to move that needle. I want to move that black bar. We're growing membership, but we need to grow market share. We need to grow assets. We need to grow PFI. We've got an opportunity, I believe, to be the disruptive tipping point institution, not the too big to fail, too big to care folks at the top, but us, in making sure that we're not only relevant today, but relevant far into the future. We're going to need the innovations Dave talked about. We're going to need the inspiration of leaders like yourselves in order to push us and push yourselves. But this is the chart I look at every day. And my 5 areas of focus are what I'm doing to try and move that needle. The only way I can get that done is having a great partner like Dave. I can tell you that the Michigan Credit Union League across the country, and as far as I'm concerned, is probably as dynamic and creative as any league there is. Your leaders are as strong and as engaged as any we have. I'm here to say thank you. I'm here to appreciate not only your support of that system and that engagement, but I'm here to ask you and challenge you to just think about doing one more thing. Get engaged just a little bit more. And that ask for the rest of this year is get engaged, at least if you're going to try something new, get engaged in the politics of this election year. It's so important for us to elect credit union aware, let alone credit union friendly representatives who know the difference, the credit union difference that you live and support and provide every single day for your members. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you. I'll go through those. You've got those already. But I wanted to leave you with this. That's my email and my phone number. That comes straight to me. If you ever have a question, a comment, a suggestion, feedback, I want you to contact me. I'll make sure it goes to the right place if I can't answer it. I've got a lot of really good, smart people who work with me, including the folks at your league. We'll make sure you get the answer you deserve. But I want to hear from you. I want to hear your feedback. We're a member-driven organization, and I think we need to continually be responsive to all of you. So thank you for the time, thank you for your partnership, and thank you for your engagement.